Hello, namaste, welcome back to Sthita Pragna channel, and you are watching AWS real-time cloud projects for beginner to expert levels. And we finished so far 74 projects. We are going to do our 75th project. 77, 75th project, which is about securing hybrid access. So let's route and go. Yes, I think this vehicle moves really fast. That being said, we are left with five more projects in this season, which means in the networking role, we will be doing only five more projects. After that, we will be doing our final season in machine learning. I am excited for that because I am not a machine learning person. So I'm planning to move towards the machine learning and AI. So I'm already reading statistics and watching statistics videos and books. That's how I prepare for something. I refer 5 to 10 sources, different things, because I think I mentioned in one of the media, I'm not the smartest guy on the block. So if I read if I read something once or watch something once, I don't understand anything. So instead of giving it up, what I do is I first thing what I do is I passively listen to something, which means let's say I'm doing my work and then on YouTube I play a statistics course. Okay, and it will be running, and behind the scenes I will be listening to it, but I won't get anything. Okay, I mean, in the sense I won't get anything, and at least I get used to the words. Okay, what each word means and etc. Maybe I won't completely understand the topic etc., but I still get used to it. Next thing is I watch it from one source. Then I read another one book. Then I read another book, another book, another book, and maybe I watch another maybe Udemy course or some other course, etc. So 10, at least 10 sources I have to. Then I will gather 50% of it. You might be thinking like maybe I have 100%. Nope, I am not that smart. Maybe 50%. And when I do hands-on, maybe then I will get maybe 10-20%. That's it. The remaining 30% I will only get if I do a real-time project, etc. So I'm not the smartest person. That's how I do it. Yeah, I'm starting my path in that. So machine learning is the next one in this one. So I'm excited for it, and I'm also planning to end this. CloudQuest, you already know, it has a monthly payment and yearly payment. Currently, I'm doing monthly because I didn't think that I would be paying them for 6 months. If I thought, I would have taken the yearly one, but anyways, that's fine. So after finishing the next season, I think I will stop that paying the monthly one. Instead, I will buy the yearly one because yearly one has a special feature which is digital classroom, wherein they have these courses on different topics. One of them is machine learning, and they have on all topics, DevOps, security, etc. So I'm think where they do, I don't know, I broadly vaguely saw, I think projects or something. So what I'm thinking is I'll get that, I will learn, and then I'll make videos for you guys so that you don't miss anything. Let me know in the comments if you are interested in something like that. Otherwise, I don't, because the yearly payment is, I think, about $250 or $300. $300, 299. Sorry. So if no one is interested, there is no point in doing that. Anyways, let's get back to this. Enough of my chattering. Hey, and thanks for stopping by. Glad to be here. I heard your space agency might need some help designing an AWS system. Yes, we do need help with that. The space agency delivers cargo to the space station to support ongoing research, and we would like to expand cargo deliveries to third parties. Our concern is how to keep data secure if we expand. That sounds like some really cool work. Can these third parties access your data across the internet? That is the issue. We don't want to expose any S3 buckets to the internet, but we want our partners to access those buckets from their locations. So to allow access to your S3 buckets from the on-premises locations of your partners, you can use either AWS Direct Connect or virtual private networks. After the traffic gets on the Amazon network, it can access your S3 buckets by using AWS Private Link. AWS Private Link, I'm not familiar with that. Wouldn't the VPN connect directly to our virtual private cloud? Yes, it does. But Amazon S3 resides outside your VPC. Using private link keeps your private traffic from ever traversing the internet. And if you remember, while preparing Cloud Practitioner, VPC endpoints actually, one of the VPC endpoints actually uses private link. Okay, that makes sense, but I'm still a little confused. We have to access the S3 buckets using a URL. How does that not traverse the internet? Amazon Route 53, the AWS domain name service, can be set up with a private hosted zone that allows private URLs to be appropriately routed to private system connections. Those connections can be an IP address or a gateway. By doing this, traffic can always stay on the AWS network. But even with that, the S3 bucket is still outside our VPC, right? It is, but we can set up a VPC interface endpoint to be the target chosen by the private hosted zone from the Route 53. Interface endpoints reside within the VPC and provide a local target within the private network for traffic going to S3. See, that's what it is about. So there is interface endpoint, then there is gateway endpoint. Interface endpoint uses private link, gateway endpoint doesn't use private link. The other type of endpoint is called a gateway endpoint. Gateway VPC endpoints provide reliable connectivity to S3 and DynamoDB without requiring an internet gateway or a NAT device for your VPC. We can set up a gateway endpoint to access S3 from your VPC without using the public internet. Wow, that sounds like several parts to put in place. Can you set up the interface endpoint and VPN so that partners can access our S3 buckets? Of course I can. I'm excited. Thank you so much. We can't wait to tell our partners when you are done. Okay, that's awesome. Let's see the learning objectives. Create a forwarding role to a Route 53 private hosted zone. Create an interface endpoint to access S3 from on-premises locations. Create a gateway endpoint to access S3 from a VPC. So you can see the difference, right? If you're accessing it from on-premises, we will use interface endpoint, but if you're accessing from within an AWS VPC, we will use gateway endpoint. Let's hit start. Let's look at the video concepts. Okay, if you haven't watched these videos, I highly recommend you to watch them. Even if you watched a while ago, I would recommend you to rewatch them because these videos are awesome. They explain you these concepts very nicely with pictures and etc. So definitely go. These can be watched in the playlist that will pop here. Click on that, it will take you to AWS tutorials for beginners. Then search with these titles in that video and watch them and then come back and watch the rest of this video. Let's look at our diagram steps. This solution securely connects on-premises client resources to S3, which you can see here, without needing to traverse the public internet. And we have already seen site-to-site VPN in one of the previous project where we set it up. And we also set up a couple of endpoints, if you remember. To accomplish this, an AWS site-to-site VPN connection is used to allow private traffic from the on-premise location to the VPC in the AWS cloud. A VPC interface endpoint is used to serve as a target within the VPC for traffic going to the S3. The endpoint then routes traffic across AWS private link, keeping the data internal to the AWS infrastructure. Okay, so where is the private link? You can see it here. Okay, so VPC interface endpoint is used to connect to the on-premise through the VPN, and then from within the interface endpoint to S3, AWS private link is used. So as you can see, it travels only through the AWS infrastructure internet, nowhere else. Amazon S3 also offers the option of a gateway endpoint, which you can see here. However, that option can't be used here because it requires traffic to transit the VPC in through one connection and out through another, which is not allowed. S3 buckets are accessed with a URL. Route 53 provides DNS services to both internal and external clients to resolve URLs to the needed IP addresses. A private zone hosted by Route 53 is used to provide DNS services for traffic within the private network. Route 53 can provide a split horizon DNS service which resolves domain names to IP addresses based on the location of the requester. This set of services working together allows on-premises clients to request DNS lookup of the S3 bucket URL from the on-premises DNS system. The DNS lookup request is then provided by the Route 53 private zone to the on-premises DNS system or clients. After an on-premises client has needed IP address, it then sends traffic across the VPN to the interface endpoint in the agency's VPC. The traffic then traverses AWS private link to provide network access to S3 without needing to expose the bucket to the internet, right? Because obviously the S3 is outside the VPC. As you can see, VPC only is here, S3 is outside the VPC. Usually whenever you connect to S3 you are connecting on public internet, but some companies they don't need that. So what will you do? You will disable the access public option in the properties for the bucket so that it is off the public internet. But then how will you access through private? This is how you do that. So let's get into the plan lab goals. Let's see what we are going to do. We'll create interface VPC endpoint to access S3 from a simulated on-premises environment, and then we will create a forwarding rule to send DNS resolution request to an Route 53 private hosted zone. Then we'll create VPC endpoint policy to control access to S3, which is something that we already did in one of the previous projects. As part of the DIY, we'll create a new Route 53 alias record named that. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. Let's start the lab. As usual, I am not going to read all the concept, but I would recommend you to read it. I will read concepts for, you know, those services that I am learning the first time. Okay, so we will go and get the S3. I think we are going to go to S3, I think S3 bucket, and make sure we are in North Virginia, and we are going to copy the SHA bucket name. Then we are going to go to EC2 instances. Okay, looks like there are 3 instances that are running on, and we are going to click on the infra EC2 instance. Then we'll copy the instance ID. What is happening? Okay, then let's go to VPC and click on route tables, and we are going to go and click on RT private on premises. So this is the on premises. Is it like route table? Okay, route table on premises, and then we are going to go to click routes. Remember what are routes used for? And remember, this is on premises, so don't think it's on cloud. We are just simulating it. Usually on premise it will have its own VPC, VPN, and then all these route table settings, etc. So think of this as the route table there where they are routing. This is locally happening, but obviously we have to route from here uh, to the Cedar block that we are going to enter for the VPC of the cloud, or the VPC means cloud, right? And then we are going to, I guess, send it to the VPN router. I think that's what we are going to add it here, but let's take a look at it. Routes, RT private on-prem, then routes, edit. Okay, so here we are. As I mentioned, this is, I guess, the Cedar block of our VPC. Okay, so from on-premise, in if they are trying to hit this IP address, we are telling whenever this is the destination, then send it to this one. And this we just copied the EC2 instance ID, right? I'm assuming this is, I think that's what it is, right? I think that's what is, yeah. What is this again? This is the VPN gateway. As I mentioned, the router, right? VPN router. So that is what we are telling it to target, send it to that VPN router. Okay. I think I am understanding this. Remember in the first or second project, I said um, I understand only 50%, and by the time I finish this particular season I will understand more. I think looks like that's what it is. Now I understand which one goes where and what is the destination, what is the target, and etc. Okay, let's go to endpoints and let's create endpoints, and let's select S3 because the endpoint we are going to create is for S3. So we can search S3, and obviously the VPC we are going to is the VPC cloud that we have. Okay, so let's go ahead and read this info. Review associates a private hosted enable DNS name. I think that's what we are going to check. Did we check it there? Did they tell us to check mark it? Let's see. Enable DNS name is not selected. Okay, we didn't select that. Associates, okay, we can read whenever we do that. No, that's all right. Then let's select availability zone B and C. Okay, zone B and C, and subnets, I am assuming there will be two subnets that we will select, and then choose SG security group for S3 endpoint, which is something that they already created. So that's what we are going to use. I think that is the only security group we are going to select if I'm not wrong. Yep, I think that's it. Then we are going to have our endpoint created, VPC endpoint created. And now let's go ahead and copy the VPC endpoint. What is that we are copying exactly? Endpoint name? Yeah, name. Now let's go to the interface endpoint and test internet interface endpoint. I think they created an EC2 instance just to test the interface endpoint. Um, so we are going to connect to the EC2 of the, okay, and we are going to use session manager to connect to it. The appropriate roles they already created it. So we are going to go to the root directory of that particular user, and then we are going to run this command. Not sure what this does. This command creates a 1 GB file named test file dot, okay, it's generating a dummy 1 GB file. What is it? File locate. Okay, that's fine. And then we are going to copy that to our, let's say we are going to copy that to S3, but again we are not using the S3 regular S3 URL. Instead, what are we doing? We are using the endpoint. Okay, so we are using the endpoint. Copy to that from here. But what is this? S3/sh. So is this how we are supposed to keep it? If it is this one, interesting. So endpoint URL. That's the regional DNS name, then actual file, then the bucket. Oh, okay. So it's the usual, the file and the bucket, but before that we have to mention the endpoint URL so that it will go through that private connection instead of the public connection. Okay, that is interesting, and I have never done this. Okay, now if we go there and check the bucket, the file should be there. Okay, that is interesting. Cool. Okay, then let's go to route 53. We copied it manually from within our VPC. That's why we were able to do it. Remember the diagram? On-prem server, then VPN, then the interface, then using private link to S3, and then we have route 53. Route 53 will only come into picture if you are trying to access it from on-premise, which is not something that we did right now. Okay, we just we were inside the VPC, just accessed the S3, but using a private connection, not through public connection. Okay, right, route 53. Let's go to hosted zones, and looks like there is already S3 US hosted zone. Okay, now let's create a record. After you created a hosted zone for your domain, such as example.com, you create records to tell the DNS how you want traffic to be routed for that domain. So each one of these record types indicates a certain type of traffic. So let's create a record. And so A means routes traffic to IPv4 address and some AWS resources. I think I can show you other record types there. So we are going to select alias, a record type, then alias to VPC endpoint, right? And a US is to 1, and then we are going to paste the VPC. We copied that VPC, right? VPC endpoint. Okay. Simple routing, because there are multiple different kinds of routings that are available. Then let's create record. If we go through here, Route 53 alias records provide an extension to DNS functionality that is specific to Route 53. Using alias records, you can route traffic to selected AWS resources such as Amazon CloudFront distributions and S3 buckets. You can also use alias records to route traffic from one record in a hosted zone to another record. Okay. So what we are doing is basically uh, data coming to the S3, we are just routing it to that one. I guess that's what is happening, right? Any IPv4 address. Okay, now we have it. Let's go to the inbound endpoints. To forward DNS queries from your network to Route 53 resolver, you create an inbound endpoint. An inbound endpoint specifies the IP addresses that you want DNS resolvers on your network to forward DNS queries to. Those IP addresses are in public IP addresses. So for each inbound endpoint, you need to connect your VPC to your network using either an AWS Direct Connect or a VPC connection. Okay, I think it is a little bit confusing for me, but I think I will just go along with it. Okay, let's click on that. They already created two IP addresses. Let's copy two IPs. Then let's go to rules. Then let's create a rule. And we will name it my S3 rule. Forward rule type, and it's going to be S3. Should I type or will it give it to me? Okay, I'll just type S3. And then we are going to select VPC on-prem, which VPC use that role. And then outbound endpoint, we are going to select the VPC on-prem OB endpoint that they created for us, which we will select next, and then we'll paste those two IP addresses, then submit it. The forwarding rule forwards DNS queries for S3 to a private hosted zone running in VPC Cloud to resolve the private link interface endpoint regional DNS name. Okay. from on premises, this VPC, we are going to, when they query something, it will come to a route 53, then route 53 uses this particular role and sees is that coming from this, then it will use this role and it will forward to whatever IP addresses that we are mentioning here. Is that accurate? You guys can let me know. Then submit it, and once we submit, what are we doing? Where are we? Return to the test interface endpoint browser. In the terminal, run this command. Okay. The dig command will return the IP addresses assigned to the interface VPC endpoint running in VPC cloud. Okay, so we are just testing to see if it is showing the properly those two IP addresses or not. Review the interface VPC endpoint. The IP addresses returned on the VPC endpoint IP addresses, not the Route 53 resolver IP addresses that you pasted from your text editor. Keep this browser tab open. You will return to it in a later step. Okay, I guess. Then we are going again to VPC endpoints. I don't know what we are doing. And then let's choose the VPC endpoint 06. Oh, they created a bunch of them. Then subnets. And I think those IP addresses that this printed should match with these. Yeah, that is what I see. Okay. And now we are going again to the same EC2 machine. We are listing ls. What does it do? Oh, it's listing the buckets on S3 on this particular account, but using the endpoint URL, and we are able to do that. Now we are using the endpoint URL and the bucket name, and we can see the file. Okay, this part I understood. If you want to access S3 using endpoints, this is how you will do it. I got that. You are like, yeah, even a baby can understand that. Then let's create endpoint. Okay, what endpoint are we creating this time again? Okay, we are selecting gateway. We are creating gateway endpoint. You can use a gateway endpoint to access S3 from EC2 instance. Using the gateway endpoint, you can create an S3 bucket and upload an object without using the public internet. To create an endpoint, you must specify the VPC in which you want to create the endpoint. Yeah, this is as I mentioned previously. If you want to use connect to S3 without traversing through public internet from within the VPC, you will use a gateway endpoint. That's what this is telling us. Create endpoint. Again, type S3, select gateway once. Then we need to tell it which VPC, within which VPC you want to. Again, we are going to select VPC cloud. And route tables, AWS automatically adds a route table that points traffic destined for a service to the endpoint to the selected route tables. Okay, choose that one that has subnets. Sorry, two subnets associated with it. And full access, which is created successfully. And we are going to go to the EC2 of gateway endpoint, and we'll try to test the gateway endpoint. I guess connect session manager. ls, when you run it, it will list the file. Make bucket. So we are creating a bucket. We are able to create it. But you might be thinking like we are not mentioning the gateway and endpoint anywhere here. How do you know that it is actually using that, etc.? Well, remember we use the subnet, right? That's this lies in that particular subnet. So anything that goes and tries to connect it to S3, that subnet route table actually um, diverts or routes it to the particular endpoint, gateway endpoint. That's how it works. Anything that tries to hit the S3 URL from within that subnet. Okay, cool. Okay, I till now I theoretically learned these things. Now I am learning practically. Okay, now let's go to endpoints again, and let's click on VPC E09 policy. I think we are going to do this as a DIY, so I don't think they will show it here. Let's edit the policy, choose custom, paste. Oh, they are showing it here. Then what will we do as part of DIY? Paste policy. So where are they asking us to paste from? Oh, they gave us a file. I downloaded it in the beginning, so that's what they are asking us to paste. And then we will run, not learn, listing from the bucket. An error occurred when calling the list object to version, access denied. Okay, where are we running this from anyways? Gateway endpoint. Okay, so policy, let me see what we did here. Okay, so for the gateway endpoint, we are only giving access to the newly created bucket. Okay, so let's go there. Okay, only newly created bucket, not to the old one. So make sure of that. So now you logged into that gateway endpoint machine, subnet machine, and you are trying to hit that, and it's not working because you are hitting the old bucket where you didn't actually have access to, because the policy explicitly stated only give access to the two bucket. Then let's go to the home directory cd or the root directory, whatever you want to call it. Then run that, generating the file, and then let's run the AWS copy. And remember, we are going to use the one that we have access to. I don't know why they are running this now. Anyways, we already know that it is going to upload it, so what is the point of running this endpoint policy? And to make sure that endpoint policy actually gives us access to the other bucket. Okay, I think that's about it. I feel sick for some reason, but I will continue. I will finish this one. So what did we learn? We learned a lot of things. I know that it is confusing. I confused, myself. I got confused myself in between several times. But if I summarize this, basically what they are doing is we have one S3 bucket that is already created, and then we went to the routes table, and I mean, obviously we went into the route table of the on-premise, and we said whenever we are trying to hit the VPC cloud server, and yeah, if you are hitting that, then go through the VPN router. Okay, that's the instance ID we pasted. So that's what we routed. So from on-premises, whenever somebody tries to touch the VPC's IP address, it will go through the VPN router. not something else. Okay, that we did, and later on we created endpoints, and we created an endpoint on the VPC cloud. Okay, and what did we do there? We assigned that particular endpoint, which is an interface endpoint, by the way, for S3, assigned it to the security group that we created for S3 endpoint. So whichever instance is attached to this particular security group will have access to the interface endpoint. And then once we did that, we went into the EC2 machine. We logged into the EC2 machine, and that particular EC2 machine is named test interface endpoint, and that particular instance it is attached to the security group that we just gave permission to the interface gateway. And then we logged in, we created a 1 GB file using the endpoint URL. We copied from local to the S3 bucket, which happened successfully. Okay, so this is all local testing, but when we test from on premises, it has to successfully do the same thing, right? But how would the on premise do that? I mean, we already said once it hits the VPC URL, it will go to the VPN, but VPN has to talk to the route because we gave our VPC IP. So anytime somebody hits from external that IP, it will come to our route table first, which is the route 53. Not route table, the route 53, our DNS server. Then DNS server, it will check like, oh, it is coming this IP address, etc. I have to resolve this and whatnot. So since this is happening on a private channel, not public, right? So for that reason, we have to create a hosted zone, privately hosted zone. Then we created alias record A, like if I'm getting an IPv4 record type request in the US East one, right? I think that's what they said. We are routing it to the VPC endpoint URL that we actually mentioned in that one. Then once that is done, what did we do? We created a role. Okay, that happened, but then we have to create a role. Route table will use this role to forward it to the appropriate IPs. We created a role and we said we on-prem VPC is the target or who uses this particular role. Okay, and then we use the endpoint that we created previously. Then we pasted two IP addresses, and then we went back to EC2. Then we tested that if it is all working fine. And what did we do? Uh, we went to an EPC endpoint that was created, 6, that was already created, and then we went ahead and what did we do? I think the subnets, we added the subnets, and then we went ahead to the EC2 and listed using the endpoint URL and whatnot. Then we created the gateway endpoint, oh my god, and we added the policy, etc. So I know it is too much, but let's finish this, let's do the practice, and I hope by doing this practice we will understand more. I think when I summarize this, I know it is confusing to you, but I think I learned 60%. I hope I will learn the remaining 40% by doing it. So let's go to the S3, and we will also go to EC2. So okay, here we are. Let's copy this name because this is the bucket we are going to use in bunch of places. Okay, all right, so that is done. We copied it, I pasted it on my notepad plus plus, which is good. And let's go to our instances. There are 3 instances that are coming. This is the VPN router instance. We need to copy its instance ID because for the on-premises server we need to tell it to forward that on-premise route table. We need to tell all the traffic that is going to the VPC for to send it to this particular instance ID. So let me paste it again on my notepad plus plus. And since we are here, let me show you this one, right? The interface endpoint, it has the security group, that particular security group that I mentioned previously, security group for EC2 VPN. And let's see, what does this have? This has a subnet. Can I see? I don't think I can see that here. Okay, that's fine. Okay, never mind. That's okay. We copied that. That is important. Now let's go to route, which is like with the VPC. So let's go there. Okay, VPC is the place where we will have route tables. And we already have these route tables. We are going to go to the private on-premise, click on it, routes, edit routes. This is only local right now, but we are going to tell it VPC. And by the way, if you are not sure what is the cedar block of our cloud VPC or the VPC itself means cloud, you can see this is our cedar block of the cloud. So VPC, let's go to route tables, select this one, routes, edit, add this one. So any traffic that is coming, sending to this destination from on premises, we are going to select the EC2 instance ID. I can say instance, and I think this is what I copied. Okay, infrastructure VPN gateway. Okay, so that's already created. Save it. Okay, so it instead changed it to the its network interface that is actually linked to that particular instance ID. So we are fine. We don't care about that. And now let's go to the endpoints, which is right here. And let's go ahead and create. If you see, there are already three endpoints for on-prem, three endpoints for cloud they created. Oh boy, this is going to be a problem for us. Okay, anyways, let's create endpoints, and we are going to name this S3 VPC. No, not S3 VPC. What is it? Did they name it? I don't remember. I think it's fine. This is optional. Even if you don't name it, that's okay. And obviously S3 services. S3 we are going to select, enter, and interface, as you can see, it gave us. And then VPC we are going to select VPC cloud, obviously. And subnet we are going to select. We are supposed to select B and C. They selected B and C, but for this looks like only these are available. That's fine. And there is only one subnet here. Just select those two. And then the security group we are going to select this one, is security group for S3 endpoint. And full access, I think pretty much that's it. Okay, once that is created, let's copy its DNS names. Oh wow, there are plenty of these. Which one do we need? All these are same. That is global. S3. Okay, what is the difference? Oh, okay. This is for B region, this is for A region. So let's copy this first one. I feel like we are we are going to fail on this one, but let's see. Okay, now let's go to our EC2 instance. The interface endpoint, connect, connect. Okay, so we are currently in user bin. So let's go to CD. We will be in the user one, and let's create that 1 GB file, which it should have created. Okay, if I select this one, it will show us 1 GB. Okay, you can see 1 GB it created exactly. And then we are going to use our endpoint URL that we just copied. So how are we going to do that? A regional DNS name. I think they're talking about this. I might be wrong. I think I'm just copying on my notepad, which you can see. Just give me a minute. Okay. So I just copied this one, replaced this part to the VPC endpoint that I copied. So I'm assuming it is copying because it's a 1 GB file. It's taking some time. At least it didn't throw any error, which is good. And this is the bucket name that I replaced here with the one from our account. Oh no, I don't want to quit. Let me run it again. Okay, it's not letting me switch. I will come here. So it doesn't have any. And this is our bucket name. I will be back. Okay, I just noticed something. It gave us access point. I don't think this is something we need. So I think we have to delete this. So let me go. How do I delete it? Action. I don't think we will have the right permissions to delete it. Let's see. Yeah, that's what I thought. So, um, can I do anything about it? Okay. Is this the access one? Yeah. Okay. Actions. Manage endpoint. Modify endpoint settings. No, I want to change the endpoint itself. Okay. Let's see. Actions. Okay. It's not letting me change those. So let's see this. I don't want to. You know what? I will just go ahead and delete this. I mean, I cannot, so I will just create another one. I see, I told you I am not doing something right. So this, by when I clicked enter, it selected this by default, which is not what I want. I want this and interface. So clearly I did that wrong. Let's select these again. I hope it worked this time, because I was sitting there and it's not happening. It's not even throwing error. Okay, now it is throwing error. Okay, let's select this, create. Okay, now we have that. Okay, now this one doesn't have the weird VPC access point. I was doubting that, but you know, we don't know. So that's all right. At least I identified it immediately. Maybe you guys are shouting, sitting there like, yo, you are selecting the wrong one. Okay, well, that looks nice. Uh, is it? Okay. Bucket, is it bucket? Is that how we leave it? Yeah, okay, bucket. Okay, I think it will take some time, but that's fine. If this is working, is it even available? I created it, but oh, it is pending status. Never mind. Okay, once this is done and this is we can run this again once that is done. Okay, Control L. I will be back when this is done. Okay, it took some time, but anyways, finally it is available. So let's go ahead and try to run this command again. Okay, now it is working. Finally, I'm happy. Uh, yeah, you can see it is copying it. Let it copy. And we are done. Now let's go here, and if I refresh here, you should see the file now. I think that's about it for that one. Yeah, and you see this one, right? So if I go scroll down, previous one we created as S3 global access point, which is something that we don't want to. This is the one we want to create. All right, I don't have permissions to delete it, so it's just sitting there. Okay, now let's go to the, I think, route 53, because now we created the interface endpoint and tested it from our local VPC, and which is working fine. But now we need to make the on-premises able to go to or able to use this particular endpoint which is in the VPC, not in the VPC, which is outside the VPC, but still the route table has to route it to that one, right? So how do we do that? On premises, when it hits an IP address that belongs to this VPC, it comes to the route 53, but route 53 has to know where to send it when you are getting traffic from the on-premise VPC. So for that one, we are going to create, I think they already create, yes, hosted zones, because this is for the private hosted zones, because everything we are doing should go through private connection. Okay, I think this one is, I have to refresh it multiple times. Seriously? Okay, it's already there. I will just click on this one. Okay, let me make this full screen. So they already created one hosted zone for S3 again. You can see that, right? Private, anything that hits this one on a private connection, and there are different record types. As you can see, this we are going to one record type, by the way. So create. Okay, we can leave it. And as you can see, there are different record types. You can see A means routes traffic to an IPv4 address and some AWS services. MX is used for mail servers and etc. You can see that usually we will use this basically this one, and maybe CNAME, another domain name to some services. So but mostly it is A, and we are going to create an alias. And where are we routing the traffic to? We are going to pick alias um, to the, where is it, VPC endpoint, right? That is a VPC endpoint, and it's going to be US East 1. And in this US East 1, it will show us all the endpoints, and the endpoint that we are going to use is the one that we created, which, oh no, if they show us like this, which one will we pick? Okay, this is global, which is definitely not it. And where did we get all this from? I think it is this. Okay, I think these three are the same. This is for the availability zone A, availability zone B, and this is, I think, for both of them, I guess. So we are going to select this one. Okay, and I think pretty much that's it. Let's create the record. So basically, the route table, when it is getting hit to this one, it is going to route it to this IP, traffic to this one, the endpoint. All right, that we did. Okay, let's look at the status in sync. So that is good. And if we go back to the inbound endpoints, Okay, let's refresh this. I don't know what something is going on with this one. And they already created an inbound endpoint. Let's click on this, and you can see two IP addresses that are here. Okay, these are for the VPC. Let me pause this for a minute. Okay, so I'm back here. So we need this inbound because DNS queries from your network Route 53 resolver, you create an inbound endpoint. An inbound endpoint specifies the IP addresses that you want DNS resolvers on your network to forward DNS queries to. Those IP addresses are in public IP address. So for each inbound endpoint, you need to connect your VPC to your network using either that or that. Okay, I think for that purpose they created this. Interesting. All right, let me go here and copy these two, I guess. I'm not 100% sure about this. I mean, I didn't understand completely. Uh, if you understood it, do leave a comment and explain me that. All right, now let's go back to our EC2 machine that we have up here, which was, remember, this is the instance interface gateway. Let's go ahead and type the dig command that they told us. I hope you read the concept around this one. And it is showing all these command IP addresses. Okay, did they did it show all those for him? No, I don't think so. Oh, we need to create. Okay, hold on. Once we copied this, oh no, not yet. We are not supposed. That's why it is showing all this, which is not supposed to. That's fine. Let's go ahead and tell or create the rule. Right? We only added the uh, copied this. We created it in the route 53, but we have to tell the route 53 which rule it has to use, etc. So let's go ahead and create rules. Okay, where are these rules? I think I'm not on the route 53. Okay, hold on here. Route 53 rules, resolver rules. Okay, I think looks like there is already a resolver, but we are going to create our own role. That is not our role. Let's name this my role, and it's going to be forward, and the domain name is going to be the S3. VPCs that will use this role on premises. Okay, outbound endpoint, I think they already created one, so let's select that one. And yeah, from outbound, then what are we going to do? We are going to paste those IP addresses that we just copied from the inbound. Okay, so where are we? We are in the rules. So let's click submit. Okay, so the role is created successfully. Now let's go back here and run this one. It's still showing the same. Paste two IP addresses. I hope those are the right ones. Does it take time? Nope, it doesn't. Okay, let's select this one. Okay, we did that, did that, and pasted these IPs. But the thing is, hold on a minute. It says earlier step, but I don't feel like they are the same. Okay, never mind. Okay, they are the same. But they got, are they the same? 21879? No, they are not same. But still, they only got two. Why did I get like bunch of them with 54 or something, etc.? Is it because of that global? Oh, now I got it. Okay, it took some time. But yeah, I think this is good. At least we know that it is working because previously it was listing something else, but we only got two of this, which is good. And now let's go to VPC endpoints again. We are already there. We are supposed to select one. Okay, let me go back and check here because I was confused previously. Okay, we are selecting the interface one again. Previously, whatever we created. How are they going? They have the endpoint of interface. Why don't I see that? Is it hiding somewhere? Okay, it is here. Never mind. Okay, so let's click that. Actions. How are we going to edit it? Okay, let's click subnets. Manage subnets. No, we are not going to manage subnets. What are we doing? I think we are copying. We are just reviewing the IP addresses. Are these supposed to change? I'm assuming. Okay, VPC endpoints, co-op subnets. Oh yeah, these IPv4 addresses changed. I don't know what they were before, but now they changed to whatever we ping 211.222. Okay, interesting. Now let's go back and test this again, I guess. Okay, I can list them and this is still working using the endpoint URL. If I remember correctly, the first time we used the endpoint URL, that entire this one. Let me show you. Okay, you see, previously we used the VPC endpoint. Okay, but oops, but right now if you see, we are not using VPC endpoint because we forwarded to this one in the route table, right? In the route table we mentioned that. So instead of this, we are using this one. That's what the setup that we did so far. Okay, that is good. It is working, as you can see. Okay, since that is done, now let's go ahead and create. So basically we are able to establish the connection and all, so we are good now. So let's create another endpoint. This time we are going to do, I will just name this for my sake, my gateway endpoint, and I will type S3 again this time. But how do I yeah, select that. Let's make sure we are selecting the correct one, gateway endpoint, and again this is going to be for cloud. And here I'm going to select this one that has two subnets associated. This is a default route table. Full access. No, we are not going to give full access, or for now let's give that. We can come back and edit the policy. So let's create the endpoint. Okay, you're not okay, hold on. Why can't I create? Is it because I'm giving a name? Okay, let's go that. I don't think so. Yeah, it's just because I'm giving a name. That is weird. Wow, this finished fast. The previous one took forever to finish. Is it because of the gateway? Maybe. Okay, now let's go to EC2 instances. Now let's select the gateway endpoint. Connect. Connect. Okay. Now, if I try to list the other bucket, I can, because policy is not restricting me, right? It's giving me full access to all the buckets on the account, and I created a bucket. Now let's go back and edit that one. Edit the policy for this. Let's go policy edit. Now if you see, for all it is giving, allowing me everything. So let me open the file that they have, that they gave us in the starting. Let me see, I think it is this one. Okay, so this is the policy that they gave. Let me copy paste it here. We need to replace the bucket name though with the new bucket that we created just now. So what are we doing here? We are restricting the access to only the bucket number 2, not bucket number. We are not giving access to bucket number 1 at all. Okay, we are allowing S3 all actions on this one, only on this bucket and objects of this bucket. Let's save it. Now if I go back to here and if I try to list, wow, I think this is the old one. If I try to list, it will throw an error. And if I try to list 2, it's it should work. It's not showing anything because there is nothing in it. So let's go back and generate that 1 GB file again. And let's copy it to the new bucket that we just created, and it should be able to successfully do that. Okay, that is about so far the practice lab. I know there is a lot of steps and lot of confusion, but just watch the video again. Even I am confused even at this point. But I think some 80% I guess I gathered. Create a new Amazon Route 53 alias record named this one. What do you mean by create this? Isn't don't ask me to create Amazon. Sorry, Route 53 alias. Okay, that's fine. We'll go. Let's go ahead. Okay, record named S3 US East 1 Amazon AWS. Don't we already have one? Okay, it's not that. Let's go into this one. Yeah, this one. Isn't this the same that whatever they are asking S3 US East 1 Amazon? Oh, this one we said only S3 dot. Are they asking us to create one with star? Okay, let's try that. Can I give star all subdomains? It doesn't matter. Okay. Do they want me to US East 1? Choose the other one. Global. Yeah, it is only displaying this. Will it work? Yeah, I just did that. Yeah, I think it's the same. No difference. They thought I don't know about how to create this, huh? That's weird. Same thing, it's just we need to give star domain, any domain, even if it hits, I think it will hit. Pretty much that's it. Route 53 private hosted zone ID. I think they are asking. Okay, where can I get the zone ID? Okay, here we go. If this doesn't go green, then I don't know what to do. No wonder why networking. Yeah, it is green though. All right. I hope you enjoyed this, or maybe it gave you more headache, but that's expected. I mean, this is networking, and most of us are not into networking background, so we don't know the basics of how route tables how resolvers etc work. Whatever they presented, we went through it. But again, I think what helps me is I think I need to go back and watch those videos I showed you in the beginning. I think that will kind of explains what each one is etc. But I think at least we were able to successfully finish this. So let's go ahead, let's exit. And this already ran for too long, so I'm not going to do the quiz. I will end the video here. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave me comments, and if you know a good book for basics of networking, point it to me. And I just want to learn whatever that is listed here, not the complete networking, because that is another rabbit hole that I don't want to chase. Anyways, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate your support. I hope we'll finish this season and next season. And please stay with me since till then. And have a nice day. See you in the next video. Peace out.